Chapter 21 Conflict. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhuanglu was the place to eat in Sanyang County, even though it was on the edge of town. The food was killer, and people flocked there, and guess what? The entire second floor was booked solid today. Normally, Li Ming wouldn't even dream of setting foot in a place like this, forget about eating there, but things had changed, thanks to Qinglong's introduction. He was kind of a big deal now. His reputation for taking down the blood bandits and the white ghosts had made him a favorite with the young Qin family heirs, and after easily schooling a few of them and giving them some pointers, he was officially in. The younger generation of the Qin family practically worshipped him as their leader. To show their appreciation, Qin Yun, the eldest daughter of the Qin family, insisted on treating him to a meal. Li Ming wasn't originally going to go, but then he thought about how many days he'd been traveling. He hadn't exactly been slacking off since he arrived either. He'd been quietly taking on missions, racking up a serious body count of wanted criminals. His life force had grown quite a bit, he figured. After living on edge, he deserved a free meal, so he showed up. When the Qin family rolled in, the other diners immediately cleared the way. In Sanyang County, the Qin family was still a force to be reckoned with. They had some strong fighters and their business was growing. To the average warrior, they were practically royalty. Li Ming scanned the bustling restaurant and thought to himself, I probably would have been one of those guys standing aside before. When he got to the private room upstairs, the atmosphere was tense. The Qin family was facing off against another group. So, your Qin family thinks you own the whole damn floor, huh? That a hulking guy yelled. It was Lin Meng, from the Lin family. One of the younger Qin disciples bristled. He was the one who'd made the reservation, and now it looked like he'd screwed up. Qin Lu flushed. What do you mean, own the whole floor? I booked this ages ago. Where's the manager? The owner of Zhuanglu shuffled over, looking miserable. Well, the Qin family reserved it first, but then the Lin family moved their reservation up. Lin Meng's face twitched. So what? Is it a crime to come a little early? We mentioned we might need to change the time. Besides, my family is a regular here. You can't even cut us a little slack. The owner wrung his hands. Look, brother Lin, how about I make it up to you? Free meal next time. He didn't want to get caught in the middle. He'd rather eat the cost of a meal than have a brawl on his hands. Lin Meng's eyes bulged, and his face turned ugly. Who the hell do you think you are? You think my family needs you to cut us a deal? Don't you know my cousin is on the human list? You think you can afford to piss him off? You think these clowns from the Qin family, and their random tag-along, are any match for the Lin family? Hearing Lin Meng mention the Lin family's human list prodigy, the owner started sweating. He glanced nervously at the Qin family, silently begging them to back down, and hearing Lin Meng insult the Qin family, and Li Ming by extension, Qin Lu finally snapped. Taking a deep breath, he said, the Lin family only has the last spot on the human list. So what if Lin Sun is strong? Are you his son or his trained dog? That set Lin Meng off. You wanna die? His hand flashed out, smack, star. The sound echoed through the restaurant. Qin Lu didn't even see it coming. He was slapped so hard he tasted blood. He staggered back, his face white. The Qin family clenched their fists, ready to rumble. The Lin family stood their ground, unimpressed. They clearly didn't think much of the Qin family. After all, the Qin family's glory days were behind them. The Lin family, on the other hand, was loaded with talent, and one of their own was famous throughout the region. But the Qin family knew they were outmatched, but there was no turning back now. If they backed down, the Qin family was done. Li Ming watched the scene unfold, his expression calm. This was familiar. The Lin family was strong and knew how to throw their weight around. The Qin family was weak, and Li Ming was just some nobody. It was just like how the Zhao family used to treat him. Even when they were completely wrong, they'd still start trouble. Both sides were gearing up for a fight. Li Ming sized up the players. Lin Meng was at the first level of gathering qi, and the others were around the 7th level of qi training. The Qin family was in worse shape. The strongest one was at perfect qi training, and the rest were around the 4th level. Li Ming sighed. This wasn't really his problem. He could just watch out for himself, and the Qin family wouldn't blame him, but the Lin family's attitude. It got under his skin. Lin Meng's face was impassive, but his eyes were full of contempt, as if he couldn't believe the Qin family thought they stood a chance. Let me teach you a lesson for those who don't know their place. Lin Meng's strength as a gathering Qi warrior was clear, his physical strength dwarfed the others. In a flash, he was on top of the Qin family's leader. The Qin family didn't expect Lin Meng, a martial arts master, to attack. Qin Yun, the eldest daughter and only perfect Qi training warrior, didn't react until it was too late. When she saw Lin Meng's sudden attack, she could only shout, "Watch out!" But the Qin family disciple was frozen. He braced for the blow. He thought, "This is it." He closed his eyes. A second passed. What happened? He opened his eyes. Lin Meng's fist was inches from his face. Lin Meng's face was red, straining, but couldn't reach. His arm was held fast, as if chained, motionless. "You! Who are you?" Lin Meng scowled at Li Ming. "Do you even know who my family is?" He didn't expect the Qin family to have the guts to fight back. Where did this guy come from? Did he seriously think he could mess with the Lin family? Li Ming's eyes turned cold. The Lin family? Never heard of them. I just know you're ruining my lunch. He tightened his grip. Ag! Lin Meng roared. Let me go! Li Ming tossed Lin Meng aside like trash. Chapter 24 Auction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days have passed since that banquet. Li Ming has been holed up, practicing like crazy instead of going out. He's acting like none of this has anything to do with him, and the Lin family hasn't shown their faces. They must have taken a beating. After all, they were totally out of line in the first place and got hammered by the Qin family, so they're not about to spill the beans. The Qin family's been treating him like royalty with good food and drinks. All he has to do is keep his nose to the grindstone, which suits him just fine. Mr. Li, someone's here for you. The maid's voice came through the door. Coming. Li Ming headed out. An old servant he recognized was standing in the courtyard. It was Zhou Lin, the Qin family's head butler, who's been taking care of him these past few days. Looks like he's been waiting a while. Li Ming walked up and asked, "Butler Zhou, what's up?" Zhou Lin bowed and said with a smile, "Sorry to bother you, Mr. Li. Miss Qin wants to see you for a bit." Li Ming was surprised. He's been laying low this whole time, nobody's bothered him, which has been great. Qin Yun hasn't brought up recruiting him since the banquet, which was surprising, but he figures it means she's a good egg, so what does she want now? Li Ming glanced down at his wrinkled clothes and said, "Hang on, let me change." "Sure thing. I'll wait here." Butler Zhou didn't seem impatient. Li Ming went back inside and changed into a clean white shirt. With his looks and demeanor, he looked like some kind of young warrior straight out of a painting, except this warrior's got a sword on his back and a knife at his hip. The sword was lifted off the blood bandit, and the knife is Fei Yin Dao. He stepped back outside. Butler Zhou led Li Ming to the courtyard, stopped, and said respectfully, "Mr. Li, this way, please. The lady's up ahead." A sweet melody drifted from the courtyard, the long, drawn-out notes reaching Li Ming's ears. Did Qin Yun hire some musicians? With that thought in mind, Li Ming headed into the yard. Qin Yun was facing away from the door, totally absorbed in playing the flute. She was wearing a bright pink dress with little watercolor flowers embroidered on it. The skirt was layered, and the water gauze on the inside and out fluttered in the breeze. Hearing Li Ming's footsteps, Qin Yun glanced up, revealing a delicate face with a hint of makeup. With her small, round face, she looked like a young girl, really pretty, but her figure also showed off the mature charm of a young woman. Li Ming might have seen a bunch of pictures online back in the day, but it was rare to see someone this alluring in real life. But after all he's been through, he's not some lovesick puppy anymore. "Didn't know you played the flute, Miss Qin," Li Ming said seriously, keeping his cool. "Xiao Hao, the girl's got skills, she's a hit everywhere." Qin Yun noticed where Li Ming's eyes had been and felt a little self-conscious, figuring he thought she was pretty. "It's nothing, just something to unwind with when I've got time to kill." Li Ming joked, "I'm just a roughneck, but I can tell you're pretty darn good. If that's nothing, half the musicians in town are going to be out of a job." Qin Yun smiled and didn't push it, but got to the point. "It's great you're working so hard at your martial arts, Mr. Li, but you need to let loose sometimes. There's an auction happening in the city. They'll have some cool stuff, martial arts treasures, techniques, that kind of thing. I was wondering if you'd like to go with me. Qin Yun's invite was kind of out of the blue. She's been stressed out by the recent problems caused by some of the elders in the family. She was originally planning to go to the auction alone to blow off some steam, but she'd been impressed by Li Ming's performance at the banquet. If Li Ming was just a show-off looking for a pretty face, she wouldn't get too close. The Qin family's eldest daughter wasn't about to start using her looks to get ahead. Li Ming's eyes lit up. An auction. From all his years of experience, the protagonist always goes to an auction, finds some awesome treasure nobody wants, and then barely escapes an ambush on the way out. Wonder if that'll happen to him. I'm in. Totally. Qin Yun was a little confused by Li Ming's sudden enthusiasm, but she just figured he'd been cooped up for too long, so she didn't think much of it and took Li Ming to the carriage. The auction was being held in the main hall on the 4th floor of Xiaoyao restaurant in the city. It wasn't some huge event, but it still drew a decent crowd. The organizers put these things on pretty regularly, so they had a good reputation, and a lot of wandering martial artists showed up to buy and sell stuff. When Li Ming and Qin Yun got to Xiaoyao restaurant, they saw a line of warriors standing guard at the entrance with swords at their waists. They were all wearing tight blue outfits. Each of them was a warrior who had trained his body to the Qi training stage. Seeing Li Ming walking toward the entrance, one of them walked up, cupped his fist, and said, "Here for the auction." "Yep," Li Ming said calmly. "Please show your invitation, or pay 10 taels of silver as a deposit. It'll be refunded when the auction's over," the guard explained. "Just trying to keep out the riffraff, hope you understand." The guard's eyes were sharp, but he seemed pretty polite, figuring Li Ming's appearance was impressive, his bearing was graceful, and his skill was way beyond his own. But rules are rules. Just as Li Ming was about to cough up the cash, Qin Yun stepped forward and pulled out a token. "Will this work?" The guard took the token, looked up, and immediately bowed. "Oh, you're the Qin family's eldest daughter. Of course, you're both welcome to come in." Then he stepped aside and let them pass. Li Ming paused and asked, "If I wanted to sell a few martial arts secrets, would you guys take them?" "Yeah, the manager's office is in the back, just ask for him." "Got it, thanks." Li Ming nodded, then turned to Qin Yun and said, "Miss Qin, I'm going to sell some stuff, go ahead, I'll be right there." "Okay." Qin Yun didn't say much, and headed to the hall on the 4th floor. Li Ming made a detour to the manager's office and knocked a few times. A middle-aged man's voice called from inside. "Come in." Li Ming walked in. A muscular middle-aged guy was sitting in a chair, flipping through some papers, with 4 guards standing behind him. "What's up?" the middle-aged man asked, glancing at Li Ming. Li Ming got right to the point. He took out a few secret books and put them on the table. "Got some secret books here. Interested?" "Oh," the middle-aged man didn't ask where the secret books came from. He just picked them up and opened a few. He looked them over and nodded. 3 of them are martial arts at the condensation level, and 1 only has the Qi training cultivation method. But only 1 is relatively rare. The other 3 are martial arts that are pretty common. Probably not worth much." Li Ming nodded. "Put the rare one up for auction." "Want the other 3, the martial arts the bandits had weren't exactly top-shelf stuff. While martial arts skills aren't generally passed around, some things naturally get out over time, the unique stuff gets hidden away, so the price is high. Some martial arts lose value because everyone knows them. It's pretty common with the lower 3 grades of martial arts. As for the master-level stuff, and even the martial god skills, they're pretty much monopolized. Some are incomplete, or just bait." The middle-aged man looked at Li Ming, and one of the guards whispered something in his ear. After thinking for a second, the middle-aged man said, "How about this, we'll put the rare book up for auction, and we'll take the other 3 for 1,200 taels. Deal?" Li Ming thought about it and agreed. 1,200 taels wasn't pocket change. He took the silver and turned to leave. He'd already talked to Qin Yun about the going rate, and this was close enough. Looks like the guy knew who he was and wasn't trying to rip him off. Li Ming headed into the hall on the 4th floor. He saw armchairs set up, about 100 of them, separated from each other. a lot of the warriors were wearing masks and black robes to hide their identities. The organizer might have had a good rep, but the participants were coming from all over the place, so people were being careful. Li Ming was looking for Qingyun. Luckily, she stood out. Li Ming walked to a spot near the front. The seat next to her was empty. Looks like Qingyun had saved him a spot. Chapter 25, Sword Training. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After about 10 minutes, the place was packed. A few people were even standing. Then the auction kicked off. A handsome young guy in green clothes walked onto the raised platform in the center of the room. He bowed slightly and announced, "I'm Li Yun, representing the Li family. Welcome, everyone, to this event. I'm in charge of running this auction, and I appreciate you all coming." Several families from Xianxia County were backing this auction, with the Li family taking the lead. Of course, the Qin family had bought a piece of the action, too, or they wouldn't have gotten prime seating. Li Ming glanced at Li Yun on stage. His cultivation level wasn't anything special, only at the second level of Qi training. He wasn't exactly star material, or he wouldn't be stuck hosting. Li Yun didn't waste any time and got right down to business. Let's get this auction started. First up, we have a secret martial arts manual acquired by a mysterious individual. A disciple came forward carrying a tray with an old book on it. This technique is called the Red Flame Art. It's perfect for martial artists who focus on fire-based qi. The qi yen qi it cultivates is potent and aggressive. It's definitely a top-notch skill. Powerful enough to get you to the peak of Ninggang. Ninggang. Not bad. I haven't heard much about this technique, but you can trust the Li family. This is the opening act. Some martial artists murmured with mild interest, but no real excitement. For unaffiliated cultivators, switching techniques isn't something you do on a whim. It's mostly smaller families who might consider it as a technique to pass down. The Red Flame Art is pretty intense and not for everyone, so it could be a legacy technique for smaller outfits. So, what's the catch with this technique? Someone in the crowd immediately piped up. Li Yun didn't try to hide anything, saying straight up, the true energy cultivated with the Red Flame Art is super powerful. People with weaker constitutions can't handle it, so the starting bid is 800 taels. 0.800 taels right off the bat. Guess I'm still broke, Li Ming thought, his lips twitching. With nearly 2,000 taels to his name, he'd thought he was doing alright. 900 taels. 1,100 taels. Bidders jumped in, and the Red Flame Art was actually pretty popular. Even Qin Yun, next to Li Ming, threw in a bid, but backed off when the price got too steep. Eventually, a masked figure in black snagged it for 2,000 taels. Later, Li Ming put his own martial arts skill up for auction, didn't go for much, only about 800 taels. Li Ming sighed. There are still a lot of rich people. Several elixirs and weapons followed, and most sold. Then Li Yun pulled out another martial arts book. Next up, we have the sword raising technique. It's a special secret method that doesn't require any specific talent or understanding, and it's ridiculously powerful once you've mastered it. Legend has it a regular Qi training warrior used this very technique to take down a Ninggang realm master. What? Any Qi practitioner can use this to kill someone in the Ninggang realm? Yeah, right. If it was so awesome, why would they sell it? As soon as Li Yun finished, the room buzzed. Li Yun cleared his throat and added, of course, this secret method lets you punch way above your weight class, but it's only a one-shot deal. After a pause, he went on, and, raising the sword takes time. It needs to be fueled by the warrior's own energy and spirit. The longer it takes, the more energy and blood it eats up, and the more powerful the final blow becomes. If you want a secret weapon you can pull out when you're in a bind, this is pretty effective. Starting bid is 400 taels. Li Yun also conveniently left out the part where the Qi training warrior spent so long raising his sword that he messed up his own cultivation, drained his energy, and pretty much died after the one strike. What's the point? Just another overhyped secret method. Anyone with ambition wouldn't bother with this. The road to martial arts is about pushing forward and improving. Why would you waste your prime, when your blood is strong, only to screw yourself over for one desperate move? Even using it to train suicide soldiers is a bad deal, spending all that time and money for one shot at the Ninggang realm, it's just not worth it, but Li Ming's eyes flickered. It's useless to everyone else, but he's got jade bones and a constant stream of energy. Yimu's chi can even speed up his recovery. For him, time isn't an issue, just pure cultivation. If someone way stronger than him tried to pull a fast one, he might be able to surprise them. I'm a master of both swords and blades. Why not spice things up with this little trick? I'll take it, Li Ming yelled, 400 taels. Is someone actually buying it? Beats me. Rich people, am I right? That everyone watched like it was a comedy show. Qinglong looked a bit worried and wanted to talk him out of it, but kept quiet. All right. Congrats to our friend for winning the art of raising swords. Li Yun was quick to confirm. Selling this thing was a win. The items got pricier and fancier as the auction wound down. The final item was a batch of blood-transforming elixirs that could seriously boost your martial arts cultivation. In the end, Miss Qin, next to Li Ming, shelled out thousands of taels for them. Talk about a sugar mama next door. Li Ming's broke brain couldn't even fathom it. After the auction, Li Ming found the guy in charge and walked away with 350 taels after commissions and the cost of the swordsmanship book. He barely made it out the door when he realized someone was tailing him. Here to mess with me, are you? But when Li Ming picked up the pace, he saw Miss Qin trailing him. The person behind him whispered, "The Qin family is a tough nut. Forget it. The Qin family has masters guarding them, I don't want any part of that." Li Ming felt the attention vanish. He was flustered. This wasn't how the story was supposed to go. If you're short on cash, why not work hard? Don't you know about taking risks for rewards? Looks like these brothers aren't feeling generous today. Li Ming was secretly bummed. Not many guys like the Blood Bandit 5. Qinglong noticed Li Ming looking a little down and asked politely, "Brotherly, did I do something wrong?" "Nah, just overestimated some people." Back at the Qin residence, even the food tasted bland. Li Ming went back to his room, pulled out the sword cultivation technique he'd spent 400 taels on, and started flipping through it. After a bit. This sword cultivation technique is a little weird, but it has potential. The more Li Ming read, the more he liked it. The guy who came up with this technique might not have been a genius, but he had a good idea. It's pretty simple. It's about using your own spirit to warm the sword, so the sword can build up some insane sword energy over time. It also throws in a sword move, the classic sword drawing technique. That way, drawing the sword isn't just fast, but all your power is focused in one spot. If the sword master has some sword intent, it can split rocks and tear open the sky, but that's just hype. In theory, you can nurture the sword forever, but the sword probably has limits. Still, Li Ming got an idea. He thought of a move called heaven-slicing sword technique. If he gets good at this and perfects the technique, who knows? Maybe he really could slice the sky. Chapter 26. The Wealth Distribution Conference finally begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xianxia City, Dinganfang neighborhood. The sky was clear, not a cloud in sight. Carriages jammed the bluestone streets, making them feel packed. The Wealth Distribution Conference was the big draw, turning the place into a real scene. Locals and out-of-towners alike flocked to watch and maybe even get in on the action. Little stalls lined the roads, hoping some lucky soul would snag a bargain. The whole thing was a boost for both martial arts and the economy. Li Ming, riding in a spacious carriage, wasn't about to haggle over deals. Still, the carriage was pretty sweet. Smooth ride, no bumps. The shock absorption was seriously impressive. They soon reached the street where the God of Wealth Pavilion was located. Li Ming peeked through the curtains, getting a faceful of hustle and bustle. The streets were wide, and shops of every kind lined the way. Not bad for a county seat, he thought. I wonder how wild the capital of Daxuan is. Li Ming wasn't about to underestimate these ancient folks from another world. This was a world of magic. Even without modern tech, they could pull off some high-tech tricks with fantasy. No wonder smaller families sent their best kids out, hoping they'd join a good sect or the court. It was all about making it big. The driver's voice cut through his thoughts. We're here. The carriage rolled to a stop. Li Ming stepped out, cool as could be. he saw 3 red buildings, the Wealth Pavilion, the Fortune Pavilion, and the God of Wealth Pavilion. The setup was pretty clever. The conference wasn't just for martial arts hotshots. Regular folks could grab a bite and score some free cash. The people without invitations were mostly just casual martial artists or commoners. They could head to the God of Wealth Pavilion and pay their respects. If their hearts were true, they could hit up the Fortune Pavilion for a red envelope. Inside were real silver notes, but the amount depended on luck. Denominations varied: 1,000 taels, 100 taels, 50 taels, 10 taels, you name it. The God of Wealth Pavilion staff decided who got what. No cheating. Supposedly, the Fortune Pavilion was where the invited guests went. It was the heart of the conference, where new talent could make a name for themselves. Pretty generous, Li Ming said to himself. Let's find a place to chill, grab a snack, and see what's up. Inside the Fortune Pavilion, a chubby dude with a friendly face and squinty eyes was out front, working the crowd, welcoming guests left and right. Spotting Li Ming, his eyes lit up like he'd struck gold. Li Ming! He yelled from across the way. Big Brother Li! His friendliness surprised everyone. The fat man was hard to miss, practically skipping over to Li Ming, grabbing his hand and gushing. So glad you could make it to the Wealth Distribution Conference. You know me? Li Ming was caught off guard. He hadn't even seen the guy coming. Name: Kai Shir-san. Realm: Condensation Gang 6th level. Entries: Big Money, Blue, Wealth, Blue, Smart, Blue, Smooth, White, Alert, White, Healthy, White. Know you? Of course, Big Brother Li. Taking down guys 2 ranks higher. That's amazing. Kai Shir-san was anything but your typical Condensation Gang big shot. He kept calling him Big Brother, which confused Li Ming, but when another guest showed up, he dropped Li Ming's hand and went to work on the next potential big shot. Li Ming scratched his head. Qin Yun, who had been following him, chuckled. Don't let his enthusiasm fool you. The God of Wealth Pavilion guys are all the same. They tell everyone what they want to hear. They're playing the long game. The God of Wealth Pavilion is forever, but geniuses come and go. If you're on top, they'll be your biggest fans. If you flame out, they won't give you the time of day. They've seen it all before. He'll try to schmooze anyone with an invite, but if you really want to impress him, you gotta be in the top 3 at this conference. Li Ming got it now. Like those noble families back home, when it came to picking a winner, they spread their bets around. As long as one of their guys made it to the top, they were golden. Walking into the Fortune Pavilion's main hall, Li Ming saw hundreds of people already seated. Li Ming and Qin Yun had to split up. Many of the attendees were just there as spectators, watching the show. The pavilion had sent out invitations to talented martial artists, students from major sects, and the sons of grandmasters. Li Ming was surprised to hear that no one in the Qin family got an invite. Qin Yun wasn't half bad, but he hadn't made the cut, so, you had to be a Condensation Realm talent to get an invite? Li Ming thought, did I just sneak in through the back door? He glanced around at the guys sitting near him. All Condensation Realm, every last one. Looks like he was out of his league for once. Heard the Yun family from the state capital is here. The Martial Saint family. Their blue sea shocking palm is supposed to be insane. Hope I get to see it. And that John kid with the natural strength? Pulled up 1,000-pound pillar, they say. Could be a dark horse in this thing. Heard the Lin family's star is coming too. Seriously? Yeah, the Lin family's been hyping him up. Sounds like they're in it to win it. Li Ming frowned. He'd had a run-in with the Lin family not long ago. He wondered if this hotshot would try to stir up trouble. While Li Ming was running through possible scenarios, a team of tall, courteous maids came around with trays of teacups. They placed a cup in front of everyone they passed. Soon, the air was thick with a unique fragrance. That's it. Li Ming scowled. He was hoping for something special. Just a cup of tea. He looked around. Most people were smiling, clearly pleased. Guess this tea's something special. Li Ming muttered to himself, whatever. Bottoms up. What, was it gonna poison him? Chapter 27 An Unexpected Competition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He downed it in one gulp. Awesome, way better than anything I ever drank back in my old life. After that drink, Li Ming felt totally chill, like nothing could bother him. His brain was working faster than ever, too. This has gotta be the tea, right? Of course, Li Ming knew, this wasn't your average tea. The God of Wealth Pavilion lived up to its rep as a top-tier power. This tea didn't just boost his thinking, it was packed with spiritual energy. He couldn't even imagine how they made it. Li Ming shook off his wandering thoughts. Time to take advantage of this boost and get some training in. Cultivation always came first. The Yimu Qinglong techniques floated to the front of his mind. Parts that were previously tough to grasp now clicked with just a little thought. As he practiced, the spiritual energy transformed smoothly into cultivation power. He lost track of time. Then, just like that, he snapped out of it. Li Ming took a slow breath, centered himself, and checked his stats. Yimu Qinglong, Qi training, proficient 40%. Realm, Qi training 8th level. He'd been grinding to get from 6th to 7th level just a few days ago, and now, thanks to 1 cup of tea, he'd jumped to 8th. Seriously good stuff. No wonder they said that at those big shot organizations, they could train a pig to become a martial saint. He'd overheard people talking about the tea. Turns out, it was legendary enlightenment tea, and the water they used to brew it was something else, top-shelf spiritual water. Li Ming realized just how over-the-top these big powers were. He probably couldn't afford the tea they served guests even if he sold everything he owned. Of course, this enlightenment tea was probably the lowest grade. He wondered what the top-tier stuff could do. Maybe someday he'd get a chance to try it. By now, everyone else had finished their tea. So, what's the deal with this wealth distribution thing? We're all martial artists here. Let's just get down to it and settle things with our fists. That was Zhang Tian, a big guy with a voice to match. He was a total brawler who loved a good fight. To him, this whole conference was a waste of time, pointless. Throwing down and getting your hands dirty was what a warrior should be doing. If this enlightenment tea hadn't been so good, he would have lost his patience a long time ago. Right away, people started agreeing with Zhang Tian. Kai Shi-san saw where things were headed, but he didn't get mad. Instead, he said with a smile, "Some of you have traveled a long way to get here. I'm guessing you don't want to start throwing punches right off the bat." Everyone was instantly wondering, what's the deal? If it wasn't a martial arts competition, then what was it? Some kind of poetry slam? Would the academy disciples have an unfair advantage? Thinking about it, Zhang Tian wasn't happy. "You're not thinking of having a writing competition, are you?" "I'm out." The wealth distribution conference had always been flexible, depending on what the organizers wanted. Back in the day, some God of Wealth Pavilion disciples had been into literature. At their conferences, writing took center stage. The academy guys cleaned up. They had been reading the classics since they were little, shaping their minds with literature and supplementing it with martial arts. The guys who focused on martial arts could barely read, so they got stumped. The crowd started buzzing. Some people were even suggesting beauty contests, or judging who had the best moral character. Kai Shi-san let them talk for a while, then said with a chuckle, "No, it's not a literary contest, but it's not a martial arts competition either. After all, good relationships make for good business. I've always loved good food. This conference is about one thing, eating. I could ask you to name every dish and where it comes from, but that's too tough. So I've kept the rules super simple. It's just a contest to see who can eat the most. So, I'd like to call this conference a food competition." Eating competition? That everyone was stunned. They hadn't seen that coming. No wonder the God of Wealth Pavilion hadn't announced the details beforehand. Kai Shi-san clapped his hands, and a group of maids in white dresses walked out, each carrying a different kind of food. Then he said, "Food is the foundation of civilization. Since ancient times, humans have been obsessed with food. Even immortals sometimes come down to earth disguised as regular diners to try new dishes. Xianxia County is famous for its food. I'd bet even the local big shots here haven't tried everything this place has to offer. So today, let me show you the best that Xianxia County has. And these aren't just meals, there's so much more than that." Kai Shi-san's words got everyone talking. Some people said straight up, this is pretty interesting. An eating competition is something new. But others thought it was childish. The academy disciples were among them, complaining that it wasn't fair, but no one cared, since the god of wealth pavilion was in charge. Li Ming scratched his head, thinking, these city folks sure know how to have a good time. He had been worried that he wouldn't stand a chance because he wasn't strong enough. Who knew that the martial arts competition would turn into an eating contest? This was his thing. His improved physique came with a downside, namely that he needed to eat way more than before. Looks like that was working out for him. A plate of food was set in front of everyone. Li Ming sniffed and picked up a rich aroma. It made him hungry right away. Then he took a bite, and he couldn't believe it. The 5 internal organs hold the body, and the 6 internal organs transform into qi. Martial arts comes down to eating the essence of the universe. If you can absorb that essence and turn it into blood, you'll advance fast. This food was not only delicious but also full of energy. If he could eat this stuff every day, a total scrub could become a powerhouse. The god of wealth pavilion really pulls out all the stops. Forget that these dishes were made by master chefs. The ingredients alone would be too expensive for most big families. If a normal person ate a plate of this stuff, they'd get sick from having too much qi. Even for a martial artist, too much is going to put you out of commission for a while. An old guy in the crowd nodded in approval. As an old patriarch, he knew what he was looking at. This food is great, but don't get greedy. An older man next to him said, I heard they got chefs from the God of Food Pavilion to make it. They're the world's top food experts. They've come up with so many amazing dishes. They even cater immortal banquets. People were amazed. This ridiculous-sounding contest was actually a test of endurance. These dishes were packed with nutrients, basically medicinal food. If someone with a weak foundation ate too much, it could hurt them. The medicinal effect was too strong, the nourishment would damage them. Kai Shirsan jumped in to remind everyone. This competition is about who eats the most, but don't overdo it, or you'll get indigestion and hurt yourself. The few people who were already eating had a realization, but they didn't think twice and kept going. The rest were deciding which food was right for them. There were all kinds of dishes here, each with a different focus. If you knew your weaknesses, you could get a big advantage. Li Ming had a different idea. Free food is the best food. Who can resist? Back in his old life, businesses would use eating contests to get attention. If you finished the meal, it was free. You might even win a prize. He never expected to find the same thing in this world. Chapter 28 Gambling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After polishing off a mountain of food, a rush of heat surged from his gut, coursing through his veins and invigorating his bones. His inner energy was flowing, his blood pumping with newfound power. Li Ming's face flushed crimson. He felt like he was inside a furnace, the temperature skyrocketing. This is some potent stuff. Li Ming focused, reining in the fire in his belly. Without hesitation, he signaled for another plate, digging in again. It was like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. The already amplified energy multiplied, yet Li Ming absorbed it all with ease. The jade-like bones within him shimmered, the excess energy vanishing as quickly as it arrived. More. Li Ming instantly activated his diamond body, his muscles and bones humming with power, a shockwave rippling around his towering frame. In short order, Li Ming devoured 5-10 plates. He sampled almost everything on the menu. The onlookers were dumbfounded, the serving maid visibly flustered. They'd never seen anything like it. Li Ming sat there, his energy swelling, resembling a blood dragon coiling within him. Each breath sounded like a dragon roaring in a river, a terrifying sound. Zhang Tian, who was sitting nearby, gawked. He had proudly downed 8 plates himself, feeling superior. But seeing Li Ming's raw power, a vigor that would put even a top-tier martial artist to shame, left him speechless. The hall reverberated like distant thunder. Are you sure that guy isn't some kind of monster? He just ate 30 plates of that stuff. No way, impossible. Each plate of that meal is like a potent medicine. Normal folks can barely handle one. Even a low-level martial artist can only stomach 5 or 10. Disbelief echoed through the room. The guy's got something special going on. Plus, he's obviously training in some crazy body-strengthening technique, working him inside and out. He's a beast. Kai Shi-san, more perceptive than the others, had witnessed countless gifted individuals. Most were snatched up by major sects in their youth, nurtured with vast resources to build their martial foundation. Yet, Li Ming, a nobody from a small town, lacking both lineage and money, had cultivated such immense power, truly astonishing. I need to get closer to this guy. If he takes off, I want to be along for the ride. Maybe I should find some time to learn from him and become like half-brothers. Kai Shi-san's eyes gleamed with new possibilities. For those in the God of Wealth Pavilion, sponsoring a genius was like placing a bet. When that person soared, so did they. The founder of the God of Wealth Pavilion had once befriended a once-in-a-generation talent who rose to become a god. He rode that genius's coattails to prosperity. That's why the God of Wealth Pavilion were always on the lookout for potential geniuses. Of course, some were better prospects than others. Kai Shi-san saw Li Ming as a diamond in the rough, destined for greatness and a worthy investment, while the others feared Li Ming's insatiable appetite. Kai Shi-san wanted to see how far he could go. The stronger Li Ming was, the happier Kai Shi-san would be. Keep the food coming. Following Kai Shi-san's command, the initially hesitant maid resumed serving. Li Ming's eyes lit up. He hadn't expected this tubby guy to understand him so well. His diamond body was nearing completion. More food could push him over the edge, unlocking even greater potential. Eating is a blessing. Guess that old saying was right on the money. Li Ming grinned, his hands moving even faster, devouring another plate. The audience held its breath, stunned. They could practically see the energy radiating from Li Ming, threatening to explode from his head. Any wandering spirits nearby would likely be vaporized instantly. By the end of the contest, Li Ming had probably eaten over 50 plates, leaving everyone gaping. Ordinary folks would be bedridden after that kind of feast, but Li Ming was like a bottomless pit, never showing signs of slowing down. His body remained unchanged, his stomach barely bulging. His flushed face quickly returned to normal. After just a few moments of rest, he was ready to dig in again. About a half an hour later, Li Ming drained the last bottle of wine, took the towel from the tray, and wiped his mouth. He let out a long, contented sigh, as though he'd just had a normal meal at a restaurant. Highlighting the comfort, there was a reason why Li Ming could eat so much. Under normal conditions, his limit would have been 20 to 30 plates, but now, all that energy was getting absorbed by the jade-like bones in his body. Li Ming realized that his bones had been undernourished all this time, which explained why his gifts haven't been as great as imagined. Now, he was in peak condition. The other geniuses couldn't believe their eyes. Damn, that appetite is something else. Lin Sun, ranked 108th, finally spoke. He gave Li Ming a long look before turning to leave. Li Ming gave a quick glance at his profile. Name, Lin Sun. Realm, 7th level of condensation. Entry, sharpshooting, blue, eagle eye, green, martial bones, green, swordsmanship, white, castle, white, arm strength, white, patience, white. Not bad, looks like he has some real skill. Li Ming nodded to himself. Lin Sun had a formidable skill set, with archery as his specialty and decent swordsmanship. It was no wonder he was ranked. Despite his issues with the Lin family, Lin Sun was remarkably patient. Li Ming couldn't help but be wary. Meanwhile, Zhang Tian, another body-refining expert, was annoyed. He had always prided himself on his prodigious appetite, only to be completely overshadowed this time. He stood up and said, "There's no way you did this without some kind of trick. Care to test that out?" Zhang Tian, Li is only at the Qi training level, while you're in a whole other class. Don't you have any shame? This competition was about eating, not fighting. Kai Shi-san snapped, annoyed. Zhang Tian was usually just a bruiser, but he was making a scene in front of everyone. Strength is part of it. Can't handle losing. Zhang Tian sneered. Or did you use some weird digestion technique? You said. Zhang Tian trailed off, but his insinuations were clear. He was accusing Li Ming of cheating. The room erupted in tension. Zhang Tian had been certain he would win the eating competition, so he was furious when he only came in second place. Seeing Li Ming's incredible strength, he couldn't resist challenging him. Fine, let's settle this. But if you lose, you gotta pay up, deal. Li Ming didn't back down, setting his own terms. He wanted to test his current power. He hadn't expected trouble from Zhang Tian. Time to beat him into submission. Kai Shisan frowned. Li, this is reckless. Zhang Tian's got superior training, incredible strength, and a higher cultivation level. It's not worth it. You won this thing. Pick whatever rewards you want. Why risk it? It's fine. Li Ming said casually, sure of his path. The other guy doubted his strength. Wouldn't cowering now be as good as admitting guilt? Even if he was right, the audience wouldn't believe him. In this world, fists speak loudest, and he was confident he would win. Zhang Tian said, if you lose, I'll send 10,000 taels of silver to your house. If anyone gives you trouble, I'll be the first one there. Li Ming agreed. Losing was just a blow to the ego. No one would even care in a few days. The crowd only cared about the show. As for the result, did it matter? Seeing Li Ming's indifference, Kai Shisan decided to intervene if things got too heated. The audience was eager for a brawl. A short time later, they arrived at the pavilion's martial arts hall. Chapter 29 Dragon and Tiger Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, so in this competition, we're not looking for magic, just straight up brawling, and if you're handy with a sword, weapons are fair game. Zhang Dao announced, wanting to avoid any accusations of bullying. After all, the big deal about the Ninggang realm is how your energy turns into raw power. If they both use their qi, Zhang Tian would have a major advantage. Even without qi, Zhang Tian still has superior training and a lifetime of practice on his side, giving him a serious edge. Name, Zhang Tian. Realm, 5th level of Ninggang. Traits, innate power, green, iron bones, green, physical prowess, white, martial arts fanatic, white, handsome, white. I'm going empty-handed, Li Ming said calmly, pushing all the swords aside with his left hand. If you think that's unfair, go ahead and use your energy. Humph. You're a cocky little punk. Zhang Tian shot back, his muscles bulging, making him look even bigger. Li Ming just smiled, stretched, and his eyes sharpened. All right, kid, get ready for my colossal palm. Zhang Tian roared, charging forward and swinging a palm at Li Ming. The force was insane. A terrifying blast of power rushed out like a gale. Li Ming, stone-faced, activated the mountain-shaking fist, meeting Zhang Tian's palm head-on with a punch. A massive bang. Zhang Tian's face twisted, his arm spasmed, and he stumbled back, trying to absorb the impact. He couldn't believe he was outmatched in strength. If he hadn't pulled back, he might have taken serious internal damage. Before Zhang Tian could recover, Li Ming darted forward, using the 8 steps to catch the cicada technique. In a blink, Li Ming vanished from Zhang Tian's sight. Mountain-shaking fist. Li Ming's voice boomed like thunder as he reappeared right beside Zhang Tian. Zhang Tian's eyes widened in panic, and he frantically raised his arms to defend. But with another deafening bang, Zhang Tian went flying like a cannonball, slamming directly into the lobby wall. After a moment, Zhang Tian pulled himself together, wiping blood from his mouth. Impressive. But now I'm getting serious. Zhang Tian declared, puffing out his chest and raising his hands. Ignoring the blood and dust, he tried to look like a martial arts master. Okay, then I'll go all out too, Li Ming said, cautiously frowning. He hadn't expected his opponent to be so resilient. Ha ha ha. Everyone knows I'm a master of powerful techniques, but they don't know my defense is even better. Zhang Tian bellowed, looking up at the sky. He'd never shown off his defensive skills in a fight before. With so many eyes on him today, he was determined to impress Li Ming and everyone else with what he could do. Then I'm really going for it, Li Ming said, dropping the act and taking a deep breath. He clenched his fist, readying the final move of the mountain-shaking fist. Every spectator held their breath, as his muscles and bones roared to life. A vortex of air gathered around Li Ming's fist. The 9 bulls and 2 tigers, and jade bones, traits, combined with his furious punches, made Li Ming inhale deeply, sucking in the air as if he wanted to vacuum the whole place. Then, boom. A shockwave of force exploded outwards, like a raging storm. Xianxia felt a sudden stab of panic when he saw the force building, but he quickly pulled himself together, focusing all his energy on defense. He felt an invincible sensation washing over him. No matter how strong the wind blew, he wouldn't budge an inch. This was the indestructible defense, the strongest defensive art among the lower ranks. But Li Ming's speed and power were off the charts. He shot down from above with enough force to obliterate everything. Anyone within 10 feet would be crushed in that instant. A thunderous crash echoed as the punch landed. The thick, aged green brick beneath them seemed to heave upwards with the impact, a spiderweb of cracks spreading across its surface. Nearby plants were instantly flattened. The mountain-shaking fist slammed into Xianxia's outstretched palms. What power! Xianxia managed to choke out, then his imposing form buckled, and he was blasted away, smashing into the wall with a sickening thud, becoming lodged there as if someone had tried to decorate the space with him. You okay? Seeing the destruction, Li Ming started to worry. He didn't want to kill anyone, he just wanted a friendly match. Your punch wasn't bad. After a moment, Xianxia, trying to keep it together, pulled himself free with a forced calm. He was still trying to maintain his cool demeanor, but his trembling legs kind of gave him away. Seriously, are you okay? I don't want you hitting me up for medical bills later, Li Ming pressed. If Xianxia ended up hurt and his family came after him, that would be seriously unfair. After all, he had just beaten him half to death. Even if the other guy asked for it, it was like back in his old life, when someone says hit me, and then sues you after you do. Brotherly, I have the indestructible defense, you know. It's famous for its defense. Just a scratch, nothing serious. Xianxia gave a weak smile. But, you're spitting up blood, Li Ming pointed out, helpfully indicating the stream of crimson leaking from the corner of Xianxia's mouth. Really? Must have been all that food I ate earlier, too much energy building up. Ahem, I need to go home and lie down. Digest, you know. And I, Xianxia, recognize you as number one. Got it. With that, Xianxia practically sprinted away, his feet barely touching the ground, but his hands, hidden behind his back, were shaking like crazy. Insiders said that Xianxia didn't leave his house for a month after this event. You defeated Xianxia and humbled him, earning 2,000 points of life. Despite Xianxia's desperate attempts to maintain his pride, the outcome was pretty clear. Xianxia went down that easily. That punch was insane. If someone in the Ning gang realm took that head-on, even with chi protection, they'd be dead or seriously injured if they weren't trained in defense. Is Li Ming really just a chi training realm cultivator? I heard he beat cultivators at the 8th level of chi training when he was at the 9th level of physical training. And he took out bandits at the 7th level of condensation when he was at the 8th level of chi training. He's a major overachiever. Maybe he'll even take down a grandmaster one day. Whoa, hold your horses. A grandmaster? Those guys are on a whole different level. If my family had a genius like that, I'd die happy. Everyone was astonished. They were all convinced that Li Ming was the top prospect. Some were even saying that if there was a major competition, he'd definitely be a contender. Whoa, Brotherly won that easily. Qingyun was just as surprised as everyone else. She hadn't expected Li Ming to be that powerful. She knew he had a ton of potential, but not this much. Xianxia was a big name in Sanyang City. He'd been a monster since childhood, always competing and winning, and almost no one could stand up to him. After he came of age, Xianxia started ignoring everyone his age, calling himself invincible in Sanyang. He challenged Li Ming not out of malice, but because he was a fight junkie. He'd once even been bold enough to ask a grandmaster for a sparring match. And he actually lasted more than 10 rounds using just his physical strength. After that, he basically ignored his peers' looks. Like he finally got his butt kicked. Brotherly, you were awesome. Kai Shi-san, forgetting that he was older than Li Ming, burst into laughter. Li Ming replied, thanks. He didn't think he'd done anything special. He just had the best physical build around, plus, all those supplements he'd taken lately had perfected him. No problem. Your physical training skills are seriously the best in Sanyang County. Incredible, Kai Shi-san grinned from ear to ear. The stronger Li Ming was, the happier he'd be. It proved he had a good eye, a family tradition. The two chatted for a bit, and then Kai Shi-san got everyone to clean up the mess and announced the end of the conference. Li Ming was the clear winner, and he got first dibs on the treasures in the God of Wealth Pavilion. Chapter 30, How to Integrate Yimu Qinglong Qi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a private room at the God of Wealth Pavilion. Li, my brother, everything's set. Take your pick. Kai Shi-san, all smiles, pulled a list from his sleeve. Li Ming reached for it. The list was packed with treasures, a real variety show of rare and wonderful things. A strange feeling tugged at Li Ming. This God of Wealth Pavilion felt more powerful than the whole damn court. They had locations all over Daxuan, even across national borders, and they seemed to have been around forever, even before Daxuan was a country. Who knows who was really pulling the strings behind the scenes, but that was their business. Li Ming just focused on the list. He quickly found the Azure Dragon Qi. Picking another treasure was proving tricky. Kai Shi-san, seeing Li Ming stuck in choice paralysis, chuckled. Looks like my brother Li here is too good for this stuff. Nah, Li Ming thought. It's all great, just can't decide. Kai Shi-san went on, hey, I know you got high standards, so I saved the best for last. He clapped his hands, and a big box appeared out of nowhere. Kai Shi-san opened it right in front of Li Ming. Inside was a plain, dark black scabbard, holding a sword. This is the Yaoyue sword, a third-grade spiritual weapon. The Ouyang family, famous weapon makers, crafted this one. Third grade? Li Ming was surprised. He'd been cramming on martial arts lore lately. A third-grade spiritual weapon was a big deal. That put it in the top tier. It was more than money could buy. Even powerful masters couldn't always afford stuff like this. Weapons at this level had their own spirit. They were true spiritual weapons, not like the lower grades. Not quite divine weapons, but if the sword liked you, it would choose you. Meaning, if the sword didn't want you wielding it, you were asking for trouble. Magic weapons were even crazier. They usually bonded with just one master, and after the master died, they went into hiding. But if you got one to accept you, you basically had the power of a martial saint. A top-tier martial saint with a magic weapon could even take on the gods. And the Ouyang family was one of the 8 greatest forging families in the world. They once had a smith who forged magic weapons. Li Ming drew the blade. It was crystal clear, like jade. The Yaoyue sword didn't look like a weapon so much as a precious gem. The blade was pure and clear, and when you touched it, a faint coldness radiated out. Qi flowed through it without resistance. Li Ming's fingers brushed it, and the blade vibrated, as if approving. A 3-foot blade shining like snow, a beauty. Li Ming said, this looked like a real top-quality third-grade blade. Li Ming hesitated. The little fat man was being too generous. He was almost afraid to accept it. Kai Shi-san seemed to pick up on his hesitation and reached out. Brother Li, don't sweat it. We're all in this together. Your performance at the conference was something else. A hero deserves a sword. So, you happy with this prize? More than. Li Ming was truly grateful. He didn't know what Kai Shi-san saw in him, but this sword was something else. The little fat man's stock just went way up in Li Ming's eyes. Then I'll take the Azure Dragon Qi and this sweet blade. Good. Tonight, we drink until we drop. Late that night, the treasure giveaway wrapped up perfectly. Li Ming's time at the conference was an all-around success. He'd gotten his original target, the Azure Dragon Qi. He'd fixed the flaws in his jade bones, perfected his body refining, and now he'd scored a third-grade spiritual sword. Even Li Ming, spoiled as he was a little blown away. Finally, sitting cross-legged on his bed, Li Ming couldn't wait to get a look at the jade in his hand. The Azure Dragon stone, about the size of his thumb, cyan in color, like a normal rock, nothing flashy, but it was precious, a rare stone touched by the aura of an Azure Dragon. The Azure Dragons were one of the major inherited dragon clans in this world. They were like the Yendi Palace. Every few eras, a powerful human would inherit the title of Yendi, and the Azure Dragons inherited their name. Getting this from the Dragon clan was hard enough, let alone among humans. He didn't know who snagged it originally, but he'd scored a steal. This kind of thing was usually out of reach for all but the top geniuses, so, while rare, it wasn't one of a kind. The records of successfully merging Yimu and Azure Dragon Qi were scarce. Li Ming's mentor, Lin Qiancheng, was just telling him what he wanted to hear. Actually pulling it off was tough, the existing methods were incomplete. Or, if they weren't, no one could perfect them. The Qin Emperor's legacy faded because, after he was gone, his followers couldn't successfully merge the Qi, but Li Ming was all in on fusing the two, and he knew what he was doing. He and Kai Shisan had looked into the secret of merging Yimu and Azure Dragon Qi. Thanks to the other guy's connections, they'd actually found something. How to merge Yimu and Azure Dragon Qi. Too bad the secret was unproven and imperfect. It was a classic technique that no creator had mastered. The founders probably weren't even close. These types of energy were too rare for anyone to really try them out, but that wasn't unusual. Martial arts development was full of dead ends. The real top methods were already locked up by the big shots, but over the years, martial arts had spread, and someone always stood out, researching and thinking, which was how a ton of unreliable techniques had sprung up. As for this incomplete method, Li Ming had a plan. He, Li Ming, had gotten where he was today thanks to himself, at some points. He plowed his remaining 3,000 health points into it. Luckily, the method was at the Qi training level. It took a lot of life energy, but he could afford it. How to merge Yimu and Azure Dragon Qi completed. Instantly, Li Ming's mind was pulled in, the world spun, the sun and moon sank, and visions flashed. Boom. Li Ming opened his eyes to clouds filling the sky, thunder roaring, and the energies of Yimu and Earth beginning to blend. This is. Before he could react, something huge burst from the clouds, a body like a snake, the head of a unicorn, the tail of a carp, long whiskers, antlers like a deer, and 5 claws. It looked majestic. This is, Azure Dragon, Li Ming wondered. Maybe the first generation Azure Dragon. Azure dragons were legendary beasts in all sorts of myths from his old life, often called the greatest or holiest beast, and in this world, it was known, but for real. The first generation was gone to time, but its blood flowed on. They were born strong, but only the strongest could be called Azure Dragon. The aura he held was from a dragon who'd had contact with the first Azure Dragon. Only a force like the God of Wealth Pavilion could get that. Li Ming followed the first-generation dragon into battle, losing track of time. Back in his room, Li Ming sat cross-legged, focused on the technique. He put the stone on his stomach, and a trace of Azure Dragon energy flowed into him. Just like that, Yimu Azure Dragon Qi. Born in his core, slowly, all Yimu's Qi turned into Yimu Azure Dragon Qi. Li Ming opened his eyes, sensing his power. He'd already dominated the 8th level of Qi training, and now he was pushing farther. He was invincible in the same league. Even in the 7th grade Ningguang realm, there weren't many who could match him. Li Ming smiled. He was already at the 9th level, just one step from perfection. For him, it was just a matter of time. Entering the Ningguang realm would be easy. With his foundation, turning Qi into Gang would be a breeze, but the Ningguang realm had a turning point. After stabilizing the Gang Qi, a warrior had to combine it with evil energy to turn it into Gang Sha before reaching completion. This was a hurdle in the Ningguang realm. After level 7, warriors hunted for suitable evil spirits. The spirits' quality mattered. His Yimu Azure Dragon Qi would easily refine spirits, but he couldn't just pick any of them. He had to have some standards. Not many Gang Sha matched the Yimu Azure Dragon Qi. An average guy with run-of-the-mill Qi would just grab whatever evil Qi he could find. Giving him a high-grade spirit would be counterproductive, but he had Yimu Azure Dragon Qi, one of the rarest and best in the world. He needed to carefully select a spirit for maximum effect. He'd have to ask around. Thinking about that, Li Ming began to quietly train, planning to retreat for a bit, then go back to the God of Wealth Pavilion. He needed to lean on a rich friend. Chapter 31 Bloody Secret Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 7 days had passed since the Wealth Dispersal Conference wrapped up. Li Ming was now a 7th grade Condensation Realm warrior. It wasn't much in the grand scheme of things, but he'd finally surpassed most warriors. Even though Condensation was just a low-tier realm, it was still a significant hurdle for many average fighters. It was the shift from Qi to Gang Qi that mattered. It all came down to the quality and quantity of Qi. and the warrior's own solid foundation. Ordinary folks would have to grind and sweat to break through, but for Li Ming, it was practically effortless. After all, his relentless hard work had built a rock-solid base, or was that life energy he'd absorbed doing the heavy lifting? Either way, the transformation of Yimu Qinglong Qi into Gang Qi felt like a natural progression, and after the breakthrough, his golden finger ability had unlocked a new feature. Li Ming was chatting with Qin Yun in her room. "Didn't expect you'd broken through to the condensation realm too," he said. Qin Yun seemed surprised. "Really? Could it be you've reached the condensation realm as well, brother Li?" "Yep." "Wow." Qin Yun was floored, staring at the young man who'd made a name for himself. She realized she'd been underestimating him all along. She'd thought he was just a gifted physical specimen with amazing fighting skills, but his cultivation was also improving at lightning speed. Looking at him now, he seemed to have no weaknesses, except maybe that he didn't come from a prominent family, but sometimes that was actually an advantage. After all, he'd achieved so much without any resources. If he ever caught a break, he'd skyrocket. "Miss Qin," Li Ming called out, and when she didn't respond, he repeated, "Miss Qin." "Huh? I wanted to ask you something." "Go ahead." "About gathering evil energy in the condensation realm, got any leads?" "We have a place on the Qin family grounds dedicated to cultivating earth-based evil energy, but it's mostly low-grade, and mid-grade is rare." Qin Yun didn't hold back, sharing the information she knew. "Only mid-grade at best," Li Ming dismissed the idea. With his talent, absorbing that kind of evil energy would be insulting to his Yimu Qinglong Qi. Plus, if he wanted to tap into the Qin family's supply, they probably wouldn't just hand it over. "Guessing you're looking for something higher quality, right, brotherly?" Qin Yun saw right through him. Li Ming didn't bother being coy. "Yeah, Miss Qin, got any intel?" Qin Yun nodded. The Wealth Dispersal Conference wasn't just about the God of Wealth Pavilion's reputation. The big families in Sanyang City, with the court's backing, are getting ready to open a secret realm. "Meaning there's high-level evil energy in this realm?" Li Ming homed in on the important part. "Exactly." Qin Yun went on, "but the secret realm won't open for a while, not until the best evil energy has matured." "What's the price of admission?" Li Ming cut to the chase. "All the major families, including the court, have a set number of slots." Qin Yun was an open book, telling him everything he wanted to know. The easiest way in was to be born into a powerful family. These families were deeply rooted in the area, with money and connections, and they were shareholders, so they naturally had guaranteed spots. Other than that, only those who joined the court and made significant contributions could enter the secret realm. Basically, a lone wolf who didn't pick a side had almost no chance, unless they had a super powerful master. If Qin Yun hadn't told him, he wouldn't even have known how to get into the secret realm. That was the gap between independent cultivators and those backed by powerful forces. Even a talented solo cultivator would struggle to get good qi and evil energy unless someone took them under their wing. One step behind meant staying behind, unless they were incredibly lucky and had a series of fortunate events. Li Ming thought to himself, "I'm in the Six Gates. Maybe I can wrangle a spot. I've served the court, shed blood, asking for a little favor isn't too much, right, star?" "As it happens, I still have a spot," Qin Yun said, seeing the slight frown on his face. "And what's the catch?" Li Ming looked up at her, his expression direct. He wasn't naive enough to think she'd give it to him for free. The air in the room turned a little strange. Qin Yun didn't beat around the bush. "When we enter the secret realm, there can't be any strong people above the condensation realm, and I'm planning on going myself to get some good evil energy. With your fighting prowess, I think I'd be much better off with you by my side." Li Ming was surprised. "You trust me that much?" "Of course. Your strength is obvious to everyone. If you're not confident, I doubt anyone else is." Qin Yun didn't hesitate to acknowledge his strength. In her opinion, Li Ming's combat ability was immeasurable. Going with him was a sure bet. "All right," Li Ming immediately agreed to the terms. "But the secret realm won't open for at least another month." "What are your plans until then?" Qin Yun asked. "I'm going back to Xianxia City." Don't want master worrying about me after being gone so long. That's what he said, but he was really thinking, I'm going back to settle some scores. Otherwise, I'll always feel uneasy. Qingyun didn't try to convince him to stay when she saw he was set on leaving. She and the other Qin family members bid Li Ming farewell. As she watched him leave, Qingyun felt a pang of sadness. She just had a feeling that he was drifting further and further away. After leaving the Qin mansion, Li Ming didn't rush out of Xianxia city. He wanted to swing by the God of Wealth Pavilion first. He wanted to see if Xianxia had any more dirt on the secret realm. The Qin family was still a new player, and their knowledge was limited, but the God of Wealth Pavilion was different. Their intel network was probably much more extensive. Li Ming had no trouble getting in. Xianxia had given specific instructions that if Li Ming came to see him, he was to be notified immediately. Soon, Li Ming was escorted to a private room. Xianxia sat down and asked, "What brings you here today, brother Li?" Li Ming didn't waste time. "I heard there's a secret realm opening soon, one that breeds high-quality evil energy." "Got any details?" Xianxia grew serious. "I assume you're preparing to unify Gang and Sha down the road. This secret realm, the blood-killing realm, is an ancient battlefield. About 700 years ago, there was a massive uprising here during the previous dynasty. The emperor of the Zhou dynasty was furious and sent a top general to crush the rebellion. The vanguard army arrived first, but the news leaked, and they were ambushed in a large formation. Nearly 10,000 soldiers died. It became a hotbed of evil. Later, an expert saw an opportunity to transform it into a secret realm. It's dangerous, but it produces excellent evil energy and some heavenly treasures. But the birth of top-tier evil energy only happens once every 100 years. That's about to happen again." "Top tier?" Li Ming questioned. Xianxia nodded. "The best evil energy is rare. Since good evil energy doesn't last long, warriors usually have to find the source. Some geniuses will even delay breaking through the Ninggang realm just to wait for top-tier evil energy to be born. So, opening this secret realm is risky. We have to watch out for dangers inside and other warriors. With such a huge opportunity, even the best relationships can turn sour. Forces have sent people in before, but only a couple of families ever came back. That shows you how brutal it can be." Li Ming nodded. "Thanks for clearing that up." Xianxia explained everything clearly and concisely, which was a big help. Then he went over what previous explorers had found, but there wasn't any specific information about where to find the best evil energy or how to get it. Those who'd found it in the past had all done it differently, and top-tier evil energy didn't always get taken by someone. Li Ming said goodbye to Xianxia, walking down the street. Li Ming was pensive. "My cultivation leveled up faster than expected this time, thanks to the generosity of the God of Wealth Pavilion. I definitely have to go to this secret realm, but I still have time to get stronger. I need to be prepared. Gotta settle things in Bluestone City, then start prepping for the secret realm. We're still too weak." Li Ming felt the pressure rising. There was so much to do. Many forces were ready and armed for the secret realm battle. Not just Xiangyang County, but all of Cangzhou would send people to compete. Even some loners would try their luck at snatching up the treasures inside. This secret realm was a treasure for the whole human race, not any single force. The court was just there to oversee it, not own it. Chapter 32 Ambush. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qinxia City, Zhao family. 3 people sat in a private room. At the head was Zhao Chongkong, the Zhao family patriarch. A chilling aura emanated from him, and his anger was barely concealed. Below him sat Zhao Yuwei, his legitimate son, and butler Li, a longtime family retainer. Zhao Yuwei, looking sullen, leaned forward and hissed, "Those blood bandits are a bunch of losers. They brag about being untouchable for 20 years, backed by the Green Demon Society, and they get taken out by a small-town cop. They couldn't even wipe him out. Li Ming, why is he so damn stubborn? Why can't he just die?" Zhao Yuwei's eyes burned with rage. He wanted to kill someone just to vent. He'd already been jumped by some unknown assailant, and they still hadn't found the guy responsible. He figured he'd made too many enemies, so he blamed it on Li Ming. Butler Li sighed, "Looks like Li's on a roll." I hear he's a rising star in Sanyang City. The real problem is whether those blood bandits spilled the beans. It could bring the heat down on the Zhao family. Zhao Changkong narrowed his eyes, drumming his fingers on the table. I've always said, even a lion hunts a rabbit like it's a lion. Now look at us. If things get exposed, the Zhao family's gonna be in deep trouble. Zhao Yue, if you had half the brains of your older brother, I could rest easy. Hearing older brother, Zhao Yue's fists clenched. Of course, he's talented. That's why he got into the Qingyun sword sect, and the family throws resources at him 10 times what I get. Zhao Changkong looked at his good-for-nothing son, barely suppressing the urge to strangle him. Remembering the boy's mother died young, leaving him undisciplined, he simply said, you know what you're worth. Even with all the resources I gave you, you've only managed to reach the Qi realm. That's it, whether that guy knows or not, get someone to kill that little constable, and make damn sure you don't mess it up this time. I'll go smooth things over with the county magistrate. Don't disappoint me. Zhao Changkong slammed his hand on the table. Yes. Butler Li stood and hurried off to make arrangements. Zhao Changkong gazed at the Zhao family ancestral temple behind him. Damn, after all my careful planning, something still goes wrong. The Zhao family had grown rapidly, and his eldest son needed more and more resources. Even with a big business, the resources were stretched too thin. The Green Demon Society had somehow heard about it and approached him. They quickly struck a deal. The Zhao family had been working for the Green Demon Society for years, avoiding trouble through caution. He hadn't taken Li Ming seriously. He knew Zhao Yue had a problem with the guy, but he never expected it to spiral out of control. That kid has to go, Zhao Changkong thought. A small constable, no matter how talented, couldn't cause much damage in the short term. He just needed to get rid of him fast, bury the evidence, and everything would be back to normal. 6 doors, Chief Arrester's office. Li Ming went to see Master Lin Qianxing and told him everything that had happened. Lin Qianxing heard that Li Ming, in the Qi training realm, had killed the White Ghost in the Ninggang realm, then unexpectedly won first place at the Wealth Distribution Conference, and he'd merged with Yimu Qinglong Qi. Lin Qianxing was overjoyed. Great! You've reached the Ninggang realm and successfully merged with Yimu Qinglong Qi. That when Lin Qianxing saw the Yimu Qinglong Qi manifest from Li Ming's body, his face trembled with excitement. God has finally taken pity on my miserable experience and sent me an outstanding disciple. How did Li Ming break through so fast? He didn't ask. The world was full of people with adventures and secrets. He'd had his share of adventures when he was young, explaining his rapid cultivation progress. Now that Li Ming had made a breakthrough, he could only be happy, not curious. Yimu Qinglong Qi, this is destiny. His calm demeanor was shattered. With this foundation, Li Ming's path to becoming a grandmaster would be smooth. Becoming a martial saint wouldn't be hard. If he got another chance, he might become the next Qing emperor. Lin Qianxing felt a pang of regret. His disciple was growing so fast, he had nothing left to offer. Other teachers were starved to death by their disciples. He hadn't taught him much, and his disciple already knew everything. They reminisced for a while, then Li Ming pulled out the letter from Boss Shui. Master, please take a look at what's written in this letter. It lists names and ages, and Boss Shui highlighted the Zhao family name. Oh, Lin Qianxing read the letter carefully. I see. Lin Qianxing frowned. The death rate these past 2 years has been several times higher, and over a dozen families have died of illness, with no clear cause. I thought it was just a strange plague, but now it seems something's definitely fishy. Some people disappeared, assassinated long ago. Li Ming deduced, these deaths and disappearances, it seems the blood bandits were involved. Or rather, the people behind them. Lin Qianxing found several dusty files, spread them on the table, and said, most of the dead were talented but lacked backing, and they hadn't been training long, so their cultivation was low. The blood bandits seemed to know their targets well, striking quickly and escaping clean. Looks like the Zhao family's probably involved. Li Ming asked, why would the Zhao family do this? To eliminate rivals? Not exactly, Lin Qianqing said grimly, the reason's more complicated. The Green Demon Society is pulling the strings. Li Ming knew the name. The Green Demon Society, a local magic organization in Sangzhou, wasn't a major player nationwide but was well known locally. They were notorious for their evil deeds, treating people like livestock, slaughtering them for martial arts practice. The Green Demon Society hadn't been destroyed because they were powerful, but because they were well hidden and dispersed. They were clever, never attacking directly, but using incentives to get others to do their dirty work. Countless bandits, like the Blood Bandits, worked with them. Why would the Zhao family be so reckless as to collude with a demonic cult? Lin Qianqing thought for a moment and decided. My disciple has made a significant contribution. The Green Demon Society is too well hidden, we can't touch them yet. But the Zhao family must be stopped. Tomorrow, I'll talk to the county magistrate, then lead the constables to take down the Zhao family. Alright, Li Ming was all for it. They would settle the old and new scores together. I'll go back and prepare, and return tomorrow. Okay, you must be tired from your travels, get some rest. Before leaving, Li Ming remembered something, turned back, and activated his mind's eye. Show me, name, Lin Qianqing, realm, perfect condensation, entries, sword intent, blue, strong luck, blue, 100 battle sword, blue, strong bones, green, loyalty, white, decisiveness, white, wisdom, white, damaged foundation, gray, sword intent, blue, sword intent. Only those with extremely high sword skills can comprehend it. Using sword skills greatly increases the power. Currently comprehended 30% of the true meaning. Those who comprehend the martial arts are absolute geniuses. As the true meaning of the sword intention is a combat system, it is common for those who comprehend it to fight against higher levels. Generally speaking, only Grandmaster level warriors can comprehend it. The perfect martial arts is almost exclusively for the strong at the level of martial saint. Looking at his master's entries, Li Ming sighed. Amazing talent, comprehended sword intent, no wonder he was famous at a young age. Even with strong luck, he still managed to wreck his foundation. How reckless was master in his youth. Seeing Li Ming leave, Lin Qianqing felt pleased and decided to give him a big surprise. I thought the Zhao family was just arrogant and domineering, but I didn't expect them to secretly collude with a demonic cult. Everyone wants to see them fall. Li Ming thought to himself as he walked. On the deserted street, Li Ming walked alone towards his hut. He suddenly stopped, his ears twitching. He heard a series of whooshing sounds. Ambush!